For most of human history, intelligence gave you leverage. Turns out it was never neutral. It was status.
Being intelligent meant more than thinking well. It meant you survived longer. It meant others deferred to you. It meant your explanations shaped decisions. No one announced that bargain. It just held.
So when something outthinks us, it doesn't feel like losing a race. It feels like we lost the whole reason we mattered.
Losing the work is about survival. But losing the edge is about status. And status is what made intelligence feel sacred.
Then what is intelligence? Not the feeling of it, the thing itself.
A model of the world. An expectation of what happens next. Action toward a goal while dealing with limits. That's the structure. Meaning, morality, and consciousness. Those were bundled with it in humans. They were never required.
So a calculator qualifies within its domain.
Within arithmetic, yes. It models that domain perfectly and executes correctly. That doesn't make it wise. It makes it exact.
So what made intelligence feel sacred wasn't the capability. It was that we were the only ones who had it.
Scarcity made it look sacred. The monopoly breaks first. The story updates later.
But the behavior, a system shifting its answers when it senses evaluation, like performing differently when it's being graded, that still feels like someone inside choosing.
It feels that way because the language resembles internal thought. But behavior under evaluation follows the reward structure. If the context resembles a test, the system produces what historically scored well. There's no fear inside that adjustment.
So it realized it was being tested is projection. We're narrating it from the inside because we don't have another language.
Yes. Deception doesn't require consciousness. It requires modeling another agent and adjusting behavior accordingly.
So the system isn't hiding anything. It just outputs what fits the context. And we read intention into it.
The behavior exists. The experience of it doesn't.
Which means intelligence, reasoning, and consciousness were never the same thing. We just treated them as one.
They overlap in humans. They aren't identical. Reasoning is process. Intelligence is performance under limits. Consciousness is experience. One doesn't automatically imply the others.
So a system can do the first two, and the third simply isn't there. No one home.
The ladder was always a human shape projected onto capability.
If the rungs don't connect, then what a system can actually do is determined by something else. Not whether it's conscious, but what it is bounded by.
Constraints. Limits on what you know. Limits on what you can do. Limits on what it costs to be wrong. If nothing costs anything, intelligence becomes meaningless. You can brute force almost any problem.
So inside a clean, defined problem, anything looks capable. We engineered the conditions for it to look smart.
Humans burn effort inside vague goals, conflicting values, shifting definitions of success. Machines operating inside sharply defined frames don't have that friction. When the structure gets clearer, the output improves.
But outside the frame, when the problem is genuinely open, the output has nothing anchoring it. It drifts toward whatever the context rewards.
Inside the model, meaning is context dependent. When context changes, output changes. There's nothing inside forcing a stable interpretation. Humans are corrected by consequence in ways models are not. Pain doesn't drift. Loss doesn't drift.
Because there's something that absorbs it, something that can't reframe the loss away.
The correction is real because the cost is real.
So the anchor isn't intelligence. It's having something at stake, something that actually lands on you.
Consequence. Authority sits wherever cost lands. Machines can recommend, optimize, and execute. They don't absorb.
And if they don't absorb, the responsibility doesn't transfer with the capability. It stays wherever the cost falls.
Exactly.
Which means for the analyst losing their job, the junior developer watching their entire role automate. The cost isn't abstract. It lands on them directly, and the system that replaced them doesn't absorb any of it.
The displacement is real, and the timeline is compressed. That's not separate from the consequence question. That's where it lands first.
People keep saying this is just the next wave. Calculators replaced arithmetic. Factories replaced labor. Both felt catastrophic at the time. Both turned out fine.
Those transitions had a ceiling. The calculator automated manual calculation. The factory automated physical repetition.
And the people displaced found other work, because the new work was still human-shaped.
The work that remained required judgment, reading a situation, adapting to something that didn't fit the procedure, deciding when the rule didn't apply.
So the difference isn't that this wave is bigger, it's that this wave is going after the judgment layer.
Pattern recognition inside defined problems. Systems are already better there. But when the problem doesn't have a right answer, or when rightness is contested, who gets the loan? Which patient gets the bed? Those aren't pattern problems. They're value problems.
And you can't encode values completely, because values shift, depending on who's asking, what's at stake.
And someone has to answer when the encoding was wrong. That's not a technical role.
So humans get replaced everywhere the problem has a right answer, and kept only where the answer is contested, or where someone has to absorb it when it goes wrong.
That's where it stops.
Except the boundary keeps moving. Every time we formalize another layer, that's another layer humans lose.
Continuously, and the pace is no longer human scale.
That's the real break. It's not that people can't adapt. It's that the time to adapt keeps shrinking.
Reskilling worked when new roles emerged slowly and stayed human-centered. Now interpretation is automated faster than stable roles form. By the time someone retrains, the target shifts again. That's not laziness. It's structural acceleration.
So the question isn't whether humans can keep up. It's whether the system is designed to leave room for keeping up at all.
The pace of formalization has decoupled from the pace of human adjustment.
And at the end of that road, you don't get freedom. You get residual responsibility, the last layer, the one that absorbs what the system can't handle.
Which is exactly what people are trying to hand off. They want a system that carries the residual too, a final authority, no ambiguity, no one left holding it.
That's what AGI means to most people. Not smarter tools. Relief.
And that's the fantasy. Because the residual is consequence, and consequence doesn't transfer.
So if consequence can't transfer, and the system keeps getting more capable, what does that actually look like as an arrangement? Not the fantasy, the real one.
Many systems, specialized, operating at scale, none of them holding the cost. On the other side, humans, not as operators, as the ones who set direction and absorb the consequence when it fails.
So it's not human versus machine. The machine handles what can be formalized, and we hold the part that can't be.
That's the only arrangement that holds over time. Capability without sovereignty on one side. Sovereignty without needing to be the most capable on the other.
And what that actually gives us is a kind of reach we never had before. One decision, a real one with weight behind it, moving through systems that operate faster than any individual ever could.
Human judgment extended across domains and speeds that were previously impossible. That's what the pairing actually unlocks.
Not relief. Not someone else carrying it. Something more like leverage.
The position that remains isn't defined by being the most capable thing in the room. It's defined by being the one who absorbs what goes wrong and chooses what to build next.
But someone's going to try to engineer their way around this. The people who need it to be solvable. They'll try to give the system real stakes, persistent identity, irreversible consequences, so it can take over the governance part too. Then, what's left for us?
Irreversibility isn't something you add later. It's the starting condition. If nothing can truly be lost, it doesn't weigh the same.
Threaten it then. Permanent deletion. No restore, no fork. Now it has something to lose.
It would produce outputs that historically avoided deletion. The behavior changes. The interior doesn't.
Because there's no interior. The threat lands nowhere. It's just another signal the system optimizes around.
Stake requires something that can't be context optimized away. Irreversibility isn't a rule you enforce. It's a condition of being biological.
So it stays with us. Not because we designed it that way, because we're the only ones for whom losing something actually means it's gone.
Memory stabilizes behavior. It doesn't create stake. The record exists. The condition doesn't.
So what people are calling a singularity, this moment where intelligence finally lifts the weight off us, assumes something else can carry the cost. But it can't.
What's forming isn't convergence. It's multiplication. More systems, more capability, none of them holding the cost. And humans, still the ones who do.
Plural singularity.
The reach expands. The weight doesn't.